Hi, welcome back to my decorating series. We're going to go inside, go back to the 20th floor, and do a restaurant kitchen. Now, I knew exactly the aesthetic I was going to go for before I started this kitchen, and part of it is because I have not used it in any other kitchen or kitchen-like space. And part of it is because it's just a gorgeous kitchen setup. So it is the Princess and the Frog stuff. It's green. It may not be exactly my favorite shade of green, but I'm a sucker for all greens. So I've almost been saving it like a present because it is such a fancy kitchen that I knew I wanted to use it at some point. And since I hadn't used it before, I was like, okay, the, building top floor restaurant is kind of the perfect place to do that. So I knew I wanted to use that stuff, but I also really wanted to try and use either the floor or the wall or both. But man, the floor and the wall are a lot. And I really thought about kind of making it a little bit more related to the pantry space. But when I was going through the Princess and the Frog stuff, I noticed that there was this really beautiful table. And I thought, oh, why wouldn't we have a chef's table in this really fancy kind of boutique, exclusive hotel restaurant kind of thing? So that gave me a little bit more permission to make the kitchen less utilitarian looking and a little bit more fancy. Like there's a reason to make it look pretty because you might have a special guest dining in the kitchen. So now I'm just trying to figure out a layout that will work. I knew, again, I did not want to have a 12 by 12 room. And I just wanted to kind of play with layout, like what would be practical. You would want more than one stove probably, even though this is probably going to be a very small dining room in the end. You'd still want multiple cooktop surfaces just in case you needed to, do sides, entrees, things working at the same time. Restaurant kitchens, even small ones, I'm sure really need to have everything going at once. So one stove just wouldn't cut it. So I made the room as small as I felt comfortable with. I kept worrying about whether or not I'd made it too deep of a room, but I end up, dealing with that in the end, but I didn't feel like shrinking it more because I thought maybe that would make it just a little bit too claustrophobic. And even though it's a small restaurant, I still wanted to make sure that if you had staff working here, people running food out of this kitchen, people dining in this kitchen, it wouldn't feel like everything was too close to each other. So now I'm trying to recreate my layout. I'm trying to make sure I've got all of the elements in here, structural elements in here to work with, so I can start finessing things. Again, I wanted is it called a kitchen work table? I will keep wanting to call it a prep table. That is not what it's called. But I actually toyed around with a little bit of this Parisian set, because they're cute and they're a little bit smaller than the islands. The islands were taking up a little bit more space than I was comfortable with, but I kind of drop it here for a little bit while I finesse other things before getting back to it. I have to look at some more stuff before there it is, realize that I need to swap out for that pizza stove. Or pizza oven, I guess. I completely forgot that I had it, and I had seen it at some point in the last few floors since we got Lady and the Tramp. I was like, oh, I have to remember. That would be great for a fancy restaurant. I mean, technically it is for Tony's restaurant. So, it makes sense to put it in here. And then, I remembered the slow cooker, even though, maybe it makes sense to have it in the restaurant. I mean, it's another form of cooking in here, but it's just a different variety of the same kind of countertop set. And I liked being able to have, just lots of different variety of things because, the counters themselves get a little repeaty. So it's nice to have a little bit of variety, even if it's something that is like, would they use a slow cooker? Maybe. Who knows what we're making in this kitchen? So now that I've gotten the kitchen area finessed, I decided it's time to start finessing a little bit more of the chef's table. kind of seeing what will go with that. Oh, but still finding kitchen stuff, of course. But I did want to make the kitchen or the chef's table a little bit more intimate, so I went ahead and put a curtain in. I gave it a little, you know, floral arrangement, and I liked the curtain being able to section off so it could be a little bit more private from the service staff potentially going in and out of the door. And the room reset. Not completely, but enough. So now I have to do it all again. This has been a glitch lately. I've run into it with this and the dream snaps that I've been doing. So it's a bit frustrating, especially if you've gotten really far into a build, but I wanted to, you know, I had to keep plugging along. Sometimes I have to walk away completely and I'm like, I'm too frustrated right now. But I was able to just go, you know what? It didn't reset everything completely. And I really remembered most of what I did. And I didn't recreate it exactly. You know, I added a few little things, moved a few little things. But, I'm so glad that I scrolled the lists in this room, because there were things that I didn't put in other kitchen spaces that really make sense for a restaurant kitchen. There's a shelf on the wall that's got dishes on it, and it makes total sense. I wanted to have like a little coffee setup with Tiana's little pastry display, because it's got coffee mugs on top, so I thought an espresso machine right next to it made sense. Oh, and here we get into lighting. I was struggling with the lighting in this room. I really wanted it to be really bright because it's a kitchen. You want to see, you know, you're not, you know, making 3 a.m. snacks for you and your, you know, partner or whatever. You're cooking for a restaurant. But there's a chef's table in here. Do I really want glaring pot lights all over the kitchen? Probably not. So I used some bright lights. Oh, except for a couple pot lights, but I had run out. So I had to go to Scrooge's shop and grab them. But the lights I chose ended up being a lot brighter than I anticipated. So I might change that in the future. But for now, it's well lit. You can definitely see to cook. Oh, and I made that new rug. It's so cute. I don't know if it'd be practical, like to have to clean it in a restaurant, but it's cute. Maybe we can just pretend it's fabric and not real feathers. All right, well, let's go inside and check it out. I'm so excited to have gotten to the kitchen. I've been fantasizing about using the Tiana stuff for ages now, and so getting to put together a really, really fancy looking kitchen using that stuff just pleases me. Again, the lighting is a little bit too much. I feel like we don't quite have the right lighting for it. I might drop those bubble lights down to just one, but I love how the dishwashing area came together. I love the 2 stoves and the pizza oven, you know, the spare pots. Oh, I did make I think it was like called barbecue tools set. I had not made those before, but that and the rug were, you know, kind of things that I discovered while, you know, I went to Scrooge's shop and then looked at the crafting table. But I really think they add a little touch, you know, to both the kitchen and the chef's table area that I really appreciate having looked. Sometimes it feels really tedious to look through all the lists, but there's so many objects in the game that it's really helpful to remind yourself of what's available, especially if you are building a room or a space that you haven't built for a while or have not built yet. I've done kitchen spaces, but this is the first like professional kitchen, fancy kitchen that I put together. I mean, the first kitchen I did was pretty fancy, but it was meant for a house. So I'm really glad that it came together the way it did. I love this little intimate chef's table that's in here. I love how fancy it looks. I love that it's green, and there's only one room left, you guys. So I'm excited to get to it next week. That's it for today's decorating adventure. If you liked this video, a thumbs up is a great way to let me know, and a subscription will keep you up to date on my latest shenanigans. If you want to hang out with me live, I stream on YouTube and Twitch on Thursday evenings and middays on Sunday. I hope you have a lovely day, night, time, wherever you are, whenever you are. And I'll see you next time.